All right, Fighting Irish Faithful, welcome to episode 16 of season 4, volume 102 of the Fighting Irish Faithful show on Leprechauns Media. This is Fighting Irish Faithful show, live post-game show of the Duke game, heart attack game, and I kind of want to throw up after watching that. We won. This is probably the worst I have felt after a win, probably ever. I don't know why, but well, there's a few reasons why. We'll get to those shortly. So thank you everyone for joining us. We're just going to get right to people. It's been a long day. And I got to get up early. I got to read at church tomorrow. So we'll go straight to Jimmy Joe. You're the first to request to speak. Jimmy Joe, welcome to the show. Unmute, pink button, lower left-hand corner.
Oh, our boys, they played very scared. I was scared for them. You know, what happened to the defensive line? They were not protecting Mr. Hartman very well.
You mean the O-line?
Yes.
Yeah, no, what's really interesting is after doing my stats, I didn't really realize this till later. I mean, obviously we had some deficiencies and some injuries, so on and so forth at the receivers, but the lack of touchdowns and just really nothing really to produce other than a few yard points on the passing game. Everything that was of note was really on the ground, it seemed. At least that's my impression. I don't know, but the O-line, it is what it is. It did seem like he was a little more frantic back there, and maybe that's the fact that he doesn't have the best receivers out there. I don't know. What do you think?
Oh, well, I'm glad Mr. Hartman ran the ball finally.
Well, especially at the end there, right? He lowers his shoulder.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's interesting, like, how that's kind of worked to our advantage toward the ends of the game, and it kind of looks like Estime kind of gets his break off, touchdown that way. I don't know.
Well, they were keying in on Mr. The running guy,
Well, and it's interesting, like, we come out, we score in our first drive, and then we do really nothing the rest of the game until the end of the game. Like, it's kind of irritating like that. I don't know.
Oh, boy, you better give a toast to Mr. Hartman for the run.
Sure. Toast to Hartman. Yeah, the fourth down piece was pretty good. I'm happy we got it, and I am happy with the win. It's just the way the game worked out. It's just like how are we in a dogfight with Duke? And that's the thing that's kind of irritating about this. And I'm not gonna rock myself to sleep or whatever with this. This is a team that's got inferior talent, and we should be better, and we're not. And maybe that's just kind of why I feel sick to my stomach right now. I'm happy we won, but I'd feel worse if we lost, right?
Okay, well, it gives me more confidence. Hopefully they'll feel a little bit more confident in the next game.
Well, I hope so. We have to go down to Louisville next weekend. Jimmy Joe, so other than Hartman, what do you think of the defense? Because sometimes it looks like they were killing it, and other times it's just like we're just not in the right position, or we just can't tackle.
This is like last week. Can we tackle better?
Exactly.
Did they not have a drill or coaching on that this week?
One would think. I mean, some of the times it feels like we've got guys in the backfield to make the tackle, but they're not. And maybe this is one of those things where I was concerned, and I said this 2 years ago or a year and a half, whatever, when we brought Al Golden in. It's like, okay, you bring a guy in from the pros, that's cool. They really don't have to teach fundamentals and proper tackling in the pros. And that's not to say that that's what's happening with our team, but look, you can have the greatest scheme and all this other shit that you want, but if the guys are not in a position to tackle and they don't fundamentally break down and know to wrap up, like, it doesn't matter what your scheme is. I'm not saying that's what's happening, but at the same time, I'm just like, well, okay. So.
Well, Mr. Irishman, if you were their coach and you were telling them what to do in practice, what would you have concentrated on?
Oh gosh, how long do you have? Without getting too much into it, I mean the first thing that comes to mind is just the we look panicked on offense. There's no reason for us to look panicked. And though our Duke, and you got to give credit to Elko and Duke, they did a very good job of stymieing our running game. I feel like more creativity in the running game would have potentially helped the offense and alleviated Hartman any pressure for him and the receivers, or the deficiency we had at the receiving game. That's just kind of my high level, put me under the microscope here response.
Well, they didn't have only 10 men on the field this time.
That is true. We at least learned to count this week.
Oh, namaste to you.
Namaste. Jimmy Joe.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye, Jimmy Joe. Very matter of fact here. All right, Jimmy Joe at Jimmy_Joe24 on the Twitter. Really appreciate you joining us. We'll go straight to Dominic. Mr. Richard. Dom Richard, 88. What's up? Unmute.
Hey, what's going on, Joe?
Not drinking scotch. Don't feel good. We went with ice water. I'm just like, fuck this. I also got to read at the 8 a.m. mass. So
yeah, that's a early morning.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Jimmy, I think I may know you from somewhere. Cheers to you and God bless.
Did you have an internship in Calcutta too, or something?
Something like that. Yeah, I think I know Jimmy though.
Yeah, maybe you've seen him at a work site. I don't know. What's your thought of this game? Are you like me? You feel sick to your stomach, and you're like, hey, or is this? Let me put it this way: is this the quintessential a win is a win game?
Well, honestly, I know you don't look much at the spreads and stuff like that in the betting world, but I saw 5.5 points versus Duke, money. And I was like, if you can't blow that out, like I expected it to be way more than that.
14
but obviously Vegas knows a little bit more than. Yes, that's kind of what I was thinking too, and yeah. I thought the D line looked freaking awesome the first half.
Oh yeah,
they looked great, and then the second half, not sure what happened there.
We're up 10-0. They were still good. I mean, holding them to 0, can't ask for better than that, right?
Yeah, but the physicality that they were playing with, if they tried to run to the ball, they weren't just tackling them; they were lighting that running back up. Anybody coming out of that backfield, they were hitting hard. They were getting to the quarterback. And then he started doing all these draw plays. And at halftime, I'm thinking, okay, Golden, let's put a spy on the quarterback and let's cut this crap out. And I don't think they did that. And I think that was one of the biggest mistakes from the coaching staff that led to the second half. I would say disaster. But we got the win.
Well, and what I was getting concerned about in this game, especially in the second half, like the third quarter just flew by, and then it's almost like the defense was just on the field the entire time. I don't know offhand what the time of possession was here, and I don't really pay too much attention to. Yeah, it looks like Duke had the bulk of it, 31 minutes over Notre Dame. But yeah, man, I think what it is like maybe this is a function of we played just, quite frankly, inferior opponents the first 4 games, and now we've played a good Ohio State team and a halfway decent Duke team, and we're now, in the low 20s, high teens of scoring. And the good news is that Duke is kind of in the same boat and so is Ohio State as far as around that scoring margin or whatever. But at the same time, it's like when you're used to something and now you're not getting that anymore, is anyone else like getting nauseated?
I agree with you. It's like, okay, now the second half, Duke comes out and they start punching back, and they're not used. No, I didn't watch the Ohio State game due to a wedding, but
See
for
where your
this
loyalties
game,
lie.
But this game, it seemed like I don't know, they get them. Maybe there's not a good adjustment at halftime. I mean, you're up 13. That's great, but I mean, you got to see the way that quarterback. He's the only one that's making the ball move down the field.
Oh, sure. Yeah, he was one of their
you gotta,
most yard point generators
how don't
on
you
their team.
and try to lock?
I mean, he ended up being their yards rushing leader tonight. Leonard ends up with 88 yards on the ground, 134 yards passing. So, say what you want about Duke. I feel kind of bad for him because he got his ankle pretty badly rolled up at the end there when he fumbled. But it's like, look, Leonard is nothing compared to what's coming down the pipe in a couple weeks here with USC. And so, and you're going to the game, and not to look too much down the road, but I mean, look, USC just put up 48 points today. They're killing it on the offensive side of things. Notre Dame is hitting better opponents and declining in their offensive productivity. So if anyone else is getting a little concerned, or if you're not being concerned, let me slap you across the face right now.
Well, I would say that USC in the second half of that I watched against Colorado, they looked just as bad as Notre Dame did in this second half, to be honest. So
I didn't watch any of the USC game. I took my son to the movie theater today. We went had a movie outing. Paw Patrol movie. It was awesome.
Nice. But I don't know. I don't know if at halftime they told their D line because of all the offsides calls, and that's a whole nother thing. All those stupid line of scrimmage penalties that were, especially in the first half, was very aggravating.
Do you know how many yards we had?
I don't know if they told them, "Hey, hold off." I would like 90 maybe, but I think even bigger than that is how many first downs you give them when you jump offside.
Right.
Like, you're giving them a whole nother downs at a time. It's not good.
Yeah, fresh set of downs doesn't go too well. Well, Dominic, we got a ton of people on. Any last pieces you want to say here about this game other than happy for the win and do better next week, or what?
No, not really. I think he's aggravated a little bit with the adjustments at halftime. Not sure if they said, "Hey, stop pushing so hard on the defensive line," or I'm confused why you wouldn't put a spy on the quarterback. But other than that, I think the not having having a couple receivers out really did hurt Hartman today, and
I agree.
That's about all I got.
I agree. It's been a little odd here, but hey, happy with the win, and happy, Dominic, you joined us tonight. Thank you for joining the Fighting Irish Faithful show, the post-game show, the Duke Heart Attack special. All right, let's see here. I think I got William on here. You were on next. I see Garrett. Hello. We'll go to William here. William Fraser. Invite you to speak if you so wish. Welcome to the show.
Hey, what's going on? let's just start off with the fact that I don't think we deserved to win.
Okay.
I think we got out coached, and we got lucky. We really did. We escaped, and the reason why I say that is that they controlled the tempo pretty much throughout the game. And hats off to Delco. He obviously studied a lot of tape, and he made sure everyone watched us. And this was the game that they were waiting for to play. You could see it. You could see how they were setting up, how they were coming with very deceptive setups for their defense to attack Sam Hartman. So if you take out Duke's defense, we would, as far as if there was just an offensive side of the game for Duke, we would have just blown them out, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, Delco did a hell of a job. I wish we still had him. I really do. I'm not trying to say anything about Al Golden, but you made a very good point that Golden coming from a pro down to college, it doesn't usually. It's a hard transition for a lot of coaches. At least that's what I've seen. And
yeah. Well, and I think with defense is a little more. I mean, it's sometimes with defense, it's kind of like you can say, okay, go ahead and sick 'em, boy, right? And so sometimes you can boil defense down, and sometimes I feel like, and we as Notre Dame fans have seen this before with, the Brian Van Gorders of the world, and it's like,
that guy.
Well, and then so when he departs, right? Then Elko is hired as the defensive coordinator for Notre Dame. So we go back and we're like, well, anything is going to be better in 2017. And it was statistically. Now, it wasn't as good as Clark Lee, I would argue. But at the same time, it's like, okay, like Elko is a defensive coach. He's a defensive mind, right? He's been down at Texas A&M for a few years, right? He takes the Duke job, and I thought that was a damn good hire by Duke. And so I'm not surprised that Duke comes out with a really, really good defensive game plan against Notre Dame. They read they know that we have injuries, and they're selling out to stop the run. They're keying in on Estime, and after that first series, they pretty much shut Notre Dame's offense down. And
we had
so
a 3 for 15 third down efficiency. 3 for 15 third down efficiency.
Yep.
That's just horrible. Horrible.
Yep.
And I think we're kind of getting what we paid for when we, look, I think Marcus Freeman is the way forward, but we're playing with fire when we have a new. He's only had 20 games under his freaking belt, right? And I know I'm spitting out some other facts that somebody else has already said, but it is true. Right. He's learning on the job, and Parker, he's no different, right? So we're kind of like, gasoline with a match side by side. It's either going to blow up or we're either going to, make it hot. One of the two, it's going to happen. So
hey guys, check this out.
Yeah, see if this works. But I just and then I kind of wonder, have we overhyped ourselves up to a point where we've drank so much Kool-Aid and we're on the freaking train that we actually believe that, hey, we're at this level when we're not at that level, only because I emphasize that, okay, they overcame tonight, and I think they overcame just by sheer luck, because if Sam Hartman would have done what a quarterback is supposed to do, which is to slide, right, he would have been short on that first down.
Right.
It would have been Ohio State all over again.
Yeah.
And it would have been Ohio State all over the game. All over, right? Short on the fourth down. And then game over. But we got lucky, right?
I mean, we got lucky. I don't know if it's the same as the Ohio State game, because I don't know if Lou Holtz and Elko were in a pissing match, but but at the same time, I also I don't think you're wrong at all. Where you're just, and I wasn't really like having flashbacks really to the Ohio State game. Quite frankly, I've kind of put that aside just for tonight.
Yeah, I totally
Now
understand
that you
that.
mentioned that, I'm
I don't
feeling a
ever
little more
really want
queasy. I'll be very honest. So thanks for that. But
to.
but at the same time, like legitimately, I think
Still
you brought
too
up
soon. Let it
some good
spray.
points here about you know, look, Duke is not trash.
No, at all.
I think which is kind of weird to say that like Duke is actually, they've changed some things, and it's a good school, it's a smart place school, and it's actually a really really nice, pretty school, right? Like it's not
Right.
as pretty as Notre Dame, but I mean regardless, the that's a program that's on the up and up, and their ceiling is so much higher now under Elko. The team looks different, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like that to reassure us as Notre Dame fans, like, oh well, we lost to a good team. Like, no, it's still Duke. They still have 50th talent. Now their coach has been around a while, and I think he is doing the best with what he has in the cupboard. That being said, though, we should be doing better as a team, and we're not. But at the same time, we won, so it's kind of a strange dichotomy. And here we are halfway through the season.
Right. And here's the other problem is that we have a coach who comes out and tells everyone in the world that, hey, we're going to win up on the front line. And then we don't use our running back as much as we should.
Right.
And then we get exposed on national television again tonight on the lack of depth and wideouts. I mean, I'm just glad that we have a good tight end to make fabulous catches. I mean, that was just insane that he was able to catch what he did. God, I don't know. I just think that we got a long road. And let's talk about this whole schedule for a second, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
Because whoever, I want to shoot the person that put the schedule like this. That we don't get a week off until October. What the hell?
That is interesting. I'm like, man, we started early, and then it's just this nonstop marathon. And what's our first bye? It's after USC.
After USC, you would think that, hey, maybe we should throw a buy-in before USC.
Yeah,
just a thought.
Like the buy is what it is. I'm not. It's really difficult for me to say one way or the other about whether we should or shouldn't, when we should or should not have the buy. Part of me is just kind of like, suck it up and deal with it, pussies. That's just kind of, and that's not to you, that's to the team. Like, just deal with it.
Yeah, I know.
Because sometimes in my opinion, you get lethargic, but sometimes you do need some rest to get some of the guys who are banged up healthy again, right?
Right.
That's the only reason why, like, the bye is like a welcome sight. It's like it's like if anyone's ever done any serious running marathons, 5Ks, 10Ks, whatever you got, and you get to that water station, you finally turn the corner and you see it. You're like, okay, this is a welcome sight, because you end up just getting some recharge the batteries here, and sometimes maybe that's maybe that's what Notre Dame needs. But we did get the win on the road.
We did get the win, yes,
and we go on the road again. Now it's a little closer down here in Louisville, but well, I'm not in Louisville, but we'll see where we are. Well, William, I really appreciate you jumping on. We got a ton of people here. A lot of people want to talk. And
I'm just going to blame Brian Kelly on the schedule. I'm going to blame Brian Kelly for setting us up like this.
It's probably not him. It's probably Jack and Brian Kelly.
Oh, I know. I'm just going to blame him anyway because he's a douchebag anyway. Thanks for letting me talk. See you later, man.
No worry. At William A. Frazier on the Twitter. Thank you so much for joining us.
All right, man. Later.
Have a good one. All right, I see Garrett. We got Jeff. We'll go with Garrett. We're just going down the line here. At Garrett Stolnick 2. Oh, I know who this is. What's up, man? You there? Pink button. Lower left-hand corner. Garrett.
Oh, I was muted. My fault.
That's all right. Pink button.
Oh, yeah, I found it. Yeah, I won't be on for too long. I only got a few things to say, but my biggest concern with us was our O-line tonight. I just was so disappointed with the way they performed.
Mm-hmm.
Just
like from a rushing situation, from pass protection, like expand on that.
Everything, passing, rushing,
everything.
Them not knowing the count. Like, how do we have so many false starts? Like, that is just embarrassing, and it's not Notre Dame football by any means.
I don't disagree. Yeah, the penalties
that hurt us.
Are really irritating, and I forget who it was on Twitter, but someone was just like, "Can we just fucking stop?"
Yeah, 100%. And then obviously with our receivers
is Duke
being
really
out,
that loud? Like, you're not in fucking College Station.
No, and their D line is so much smaller compared to what we are, and I don't understand how we weren't able to allow Sam to sit in the pocket and do what he's supposed to do to be able to get us down the field. Granted, we didn't have our core receivers out there.
Yeah,
that definitely hurt. Chris Tyree should have been able to step up in these type of situations. We relied on Mitchell Evans
funny you
way
that.
too much.
I'm curious, gosh, how did Tyree do? Like, he had
28 yards.
Yeah, I see 2 receptions here, and it's just like, oh, okay, it's not trash, but it's like, how is this cat not getting the ball more?
Yeah, and he, for his type of speed,
don't forget his punt return.
Veteran. It's.
But like if we're talking strictly offense, right? Like it is Duke keying in on him? I don't know, because the TV doesn't always show all the players, so it's kind of hard to really tell what the defense is doing to him, particularly. But yeah, it's really, really surprising, and I don't know if it's play calling. I don't know if it's the receivers just not able to get open. But it seems very strange that you've got someone that's fast and quick as Tyree. We just can't get him the ball more. And these are things I don't understand.
And then what was the other thing? Oh man, I had it, and then we started talking about that, and I lost it.
That's all right. I apologize.
No, you're all good. The ref. I don't know if the officiating I wasn't too pleased about. I know I saw multiple holding where Duke was holding on us, going after the QB. Nothing was called. There was a delay of game was not called. That was frustrating. And then them going back to that great punt that he had right on the one, and they went back and looked at it. That was not allowed. Like, what was that?
Oh, where it like bounced over the pylon or something.
Yeah, the call on the
field. Yeah, it was. See, that's the thing. It's always like, well, is it conclusive? And I'm not. Who knows what they're seeing? If they think it went over the pylon, it's one of those things where if it grazes, a nanometer of, whatever, they're like, oh, touchback, So it's just like those kind of things happen. I'm not going to freak out too much over those kind of calls. It's really what happens, within our control, staying in the snap count, proper tackling form, things of that nature. Those are the little things that really add up and matter in games. And what's crazy is that this was a night game, and College Game Day was there, right? So it's quote unquote a big game, probably a bigger game for Duke than for Notre Dame. And for at least the third quarter and most of the fourth, kind of felt that way, that this was a bigger deal for Duke than Notre Dame.
Duke just looked fantastic coming out into the second half. Like, I don't know what we were doing. Like, I think it was we were in the fourth quarter with the last drive, and we were like 0 for 10 on third downs. We just couldn't get anything moving, and it was kind of a disappointing night. And like one of your speakers tonight, like you said, we got lucky 100%. If it wasn't for estimate break that final tackle, the final play, we would have blown that game.
I mean, Hartman getting the fourth down was really key. And then right after that to score very quickly, I thought was great as well. So
it was nice. It's finally nice to have a quarterback that can be a leader and get us in those type of positions, because past I don't think we would have been able to pull that win.
Well, and what's I think something that's still we get, quote unquote, with Hartman is that he does force defenses to respect his arm. So they are dropping in pass coverage, which is creating this wide open space of grass in front of him. And so it's like if it was Drew Pine or pick your favorite, Notre Dame quarterback for the last few years, we wouldn't have had that opportunity per se with having all this open space in front of him, because they don't have to do a 3 or 4 man rush. They could get away with a 5-man rush or something to that effect, to put more pressure on us and drop less men in the defense. I don't think Duke and Elko and those guys, they knew that they had to drop more guys into pass coverage.
And props to Duke for playing the way they did. Like I did not expect that to happen. I expected us to come out and blow them out 100%.
Oh, sure. Well, and especially the way the first drive went, so.
Yes.
Amen.
All right, Garrett, really appreciate it. Man, we are stacked on people. A lot of people listening. Really appreciate everyone hanging on here. Any other final thoughts? I got a question for the next guy.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
All right, Garrett. Thank you for coming on. At Garrett Stolnick 2 on the Twitter. Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a good one and go Irish. Jeff, we're gonna move on to you. Jeff Streak. I'm gonna mess this up. Jeff. You there?
Hey, what's going on, my man?
Yo, welcome to the Fighting Irish Faithful Show, part of the Dos Leprechauns Media.
Yeah, excited to be on. Gained a good relationship with Jason and Nate, and the rest is history. So I'm glad to be a part, and looking forward to the future, being a part of the Dos Leprechauns team.
Yeah, for the world, this is Jeff, a new member of the squad. So welcome. Let me ask you a question, Jeff. For me, as the opening drive was starting, and I'm like, okay, we're going to go ahead and punt. What did you think of going for it with the fake punt in the opening drive?
That's the kind of stuff that you love to see as a fan in the Notre Dame era of now. Previous regimes, not to name names because I don't like the name that I'll name. I am very
pick one. We'll bash them all.
Yeah, I think that's a byproduct of what Brian Mason instilled with Notre Dame in being an aggressive team on the third front, which is special teams, and we became so accustomed to seeing havoc wreaked on the special team side of the ball, and seeing that was a breath of fresh air, and not to mention to see it with Jeremiah Love as the outback was just so crucial in the identity that Notre Dame is trying to have on a national spotlight. And they showed it there. A lot of people like to attack coaching, poor decisions on coaching decisions, and it just made me feel like we're here. But then I could go back and literally replay this whole game and say, well, I'm reliving nightmares that I lived last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, where that still needs to progress. And with Marcus, with Jared Parker, and even Al Golden, they are all new to each other still, because it's not going to happen overnight, folks. And we like to place blame on Jared. We like to place blame on Golden. And Marcus is the one who's accountable for both of them.
Yeah, he's the one who, and that's it's his win-loss record. It's he's the one that's really doing the talking with the press or whatever after the game, not the other coaches. ESPN and whatnot, those people, they want to interview him. They're not going to go up to the OC or the DC. So he is the leader. He is the coach. So he is the buck stops there, and he's the one that is held accountable. So when you see blank moments of stupidity with the team, or we're false starting, every 10th play, it seems. It gets really irritating. Now, on the flip side, if we go back to our first drive, personally, I'm kind of okay with going for it on fourth just because of where we were, and it kind of totally took the crowd out of it right at the beginning, which is great.
Yeah.
And also just down in distance, it just kind of made sense to do it in the middle of the field there. I said last week, maybe it was the post game show, I don't remember, but I basically said that, look, when you're in the middle of the field, you got the whole playbook in front of you, and that's where we were tonight when that happened. Now, if we were back in our own red zone or in field goal range, shit like that, I'd have a different opinion. But when you're in the middle of the field, I'm kind of like, well, okay, if you don't get it, like I'm not happy, but I'm also not going to say it was a quote unquote bad decision early in the game. That's just my opinion.
I agree with you 100%. And I mean, it's one of those things that we have to grow with what type of coaching Marcus is going to give us. And one of the things that has stood out with me right away, which I respect the most, is if you guys remember, I watch Marcus's press conference every Monday, and Marcus took accountability right away. And that's something that us as a fan base is not quite accustomed to. We've seen coaches bash other coordinators. We've seen coaches
throw the center under the bus,
bash his own players. I'm gonna cough and say NC State way back in what was that, 2016?
That was the moment that was my turning moment. Yes, we'll have conversations about that.
we could all talk about that and see that we have a guy that wants to lead from the front and not lead from behind and point fingers, and that's what we're getting with Marcus Freeman now. And we just have to be patient. We just have to be patient because we're all in a win now mode, because it's the gold standard. I mean, Notre Dame football is not expected to be a 9-5 in the Kraft Mayonnaise Bowl. I mean, we're expected to play for national championships, New Year's Six bowls, and can continue that legacy that Newt built, that Era built, that Lou built. That I mean, there's so much rich history that we have to remember in the past, but we have to live into the present and give the guy who's in the driver's seat a chance. And today was a tough one. Today was a tough one to watch, and
You're telling me I usually drink scotch during these shows, and tonight I'm just like too ill watching this game. I'm just like, forget this. And I only had like a couple beers. It was nothing crazy. So I don't know what the deal is, but man, no, it's just this game. There's and maybe when I sleep on it and start next week off, and I go and reflect before we do Tuesday night show, maybe cooler heads will prevail, and Joe's the knots in Joe's stomach will become unraveled, and they'll end up in a spreadsheet here. Who knows?
Absolutely. And there's plenty to watch on this game, and the false starts are what pissed me off the most tonight, because if you looked at who they were on, it makes you scratch your head.
Yeah, it's like, why are you doing that?
as a veteran center in Zeke Corral, you just can't do that. You can't do that, and you can't make excuses for that. You have to have the snap counts. He has been working with Sam the minute he's been on campus, and Wallace Wade Stadium is not Doak Campbell or any of the big time stadiums. Yeah, like,
it's not Kyle Field where it will be next year. It's not Death Valley.
Yeah, that's when it turns onto the player itself. And then one on Tobias and one on Rico. Wide receivers. What are you doing? What are you doing in those moments, And I mean, we complain about the refereeing and this and that, but Notre Dame, I'm fortunate enough to have a great relationship with a Notre Dame player's father who actually played baseball under me. that Notre Dame player played baseball for me. And the biggest thing that we have said is last week Notre Dame beat Notre Dame. This week, Notre Dame would have beat Notre Dame again because of the stupid penalties and just the lapses. And one thing that I'm going to hit on, I don't want to spend all the time on this talking, is we need to start incorporating depth. We have depth, and I think you saw that in the text message. We have depth at positions where guys are playing 99.9% of the snaps, and it shows in that second half. I heard one of the speakers just before me talk about, oh, well, Duke came out with this and just punched us in the face. No, they didn't punch us in the face. We got guys playing dog-ass tired because of our depth on defense.
And it doesn't help, though, especially in the second half when you know the defense is out there the whole freaking time. You know, I'd be curious to know this is be hard to, you know, unless you chart plays, right? I'd be very curious what the time of possession was from the first half versus the second half.
Oh, they were astounding.
You know, like you could just even like forget time on the clock. Just count plays.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little easier to do. Just count the number of plays that Duke ran on offense versus Notre Dame ran on offense in the second half versus the first half, and you're just gonna be like, yeah, if you're in there, like these guys are gonna need like the O2 or something on the sideline.
Yeah, we set the edge in that first half. Riley Leonard was forced to be something that he's not, and that's a pocket passer. Yeah. And that was exposed big time in that first half. And again, I believe we got tired. We gotta see guys like Gabe Rubio get out there a lot more. Howard Cross played on his head tonight. 13 tackles from a nose tackle position is completely unheard of. I mean, he was on his head today, and
he's making it.
I respect the hell out of that. My biggest points of emphasis this game is, I don't know what Audric Estime was doing today, but he was not awake for 3.5 quarters and or 3 quarters, almost 4 damn quarters, and then starts to get his shoulder pads down instead of running high like he weighs 160 pounds.
Yeah.
I mean, his last run of the game was his statement run, and I'm glad he brought it out then.
Well, yeah, he's actually breaking tackles and this, that, and the other. Yeah. No, I mean, there's so many things that I think we can focus on. It. I mean, it makes it a little more palatable to go back and review these things with constructive criticism.
Yes.
You know, now that we have the win under our belt, which is great, you know, it's like some of the smoke that I think, and it was smoke around Duke and like the whole reason why College Game Day was there. And it's like, you guys are really only there because Duke's undefeated, which, you know, no disrespect to Duke. It's just like, you're undefeated and you're now playing Notre Dame. If they were playing
Clemson or
not even Clemson, because they already beat them. Like if they're playing Wake Forest or Pitt or some other ACC school, that
it's another game.
Yeah, it's just another game, and there's no way in hell that College Game Day would be there. But Notre Dame just came off the big loss. Duke's undefeated, you know, and you know it's the media, it's popularity, it's all those things,
and everyone likes to see us lose.
Well, sure.
Let's call it, yeah. Let's call it how it is there.
Oh, sure.
They want to see Notre Dame lose back-to-back weeks in prime time.
Well, and I like seeing LSU lose tonight, especially in a game that apparently had no defense. So,
I mean, over 100 points scored combined. So,
Lord, oh my gosh, just what they just tell the defenses just eat pizza and drink soda on the sideline and just we'll just have the offense go out there.
Yeah, today was a hard watch. But you know what? Still grateful to be a Notre Dame fan. Still grateful for Marcus Freeman and crew. Sam Hartman played probably one of his worst games of his college career, but showed his leadership, showed his tenure, and showed just pure determination on literally trying to check every single pass that he could have in that play, in that sequence, and then running it for 15, 14 yards and putting his head down because he wants it more than anyone else out there. And that's what we haven't had in a Notre Dame uniform at the quarterback position. And I'm going to say it now, and I could probably get crucified since Brady Quinn. I mean, I haven't seen anyone play with that kind of determination.
I remember being a student and seeing Clausen do some stuff, that was pretty good, turf toe and everything. But I think it's more so like with Clausen, like, okay, he himself, I think, was a talent, and he did have good guys like Floyd and Tate and Rudolph and some of these other guys with him, so don't get me wrong. But it never really came to a head. It never was succinct.
No.
It was never it was never in the forefront of our minds that it's like, oh wow, look how great Clausen's doing. It's one of those things where it's like, well, we know the talent is there. We know there's potential for it to be there, but we've got to see it on the scoreboard too.
Yeah.
And in the wins and losses more in the wins column, right? Less in the losses column. And so I think that's the challenge when we analyze the success of Jimmy Clausen. Now that we're got Hartman here, look, no interceptions, so that's good. He was at 50% completion, so that's not good either.
That was a big red circle.
But at the same time, and what's really strange about that is, like, you would think that Notre Dame would be more run heavy with the fact that we had a bunch of receivers that were out, but this was our lowest running game all year.
That's my last point I'll leave with is we have been leading with a three-headed monster the whole year.
Got a drink. Three-headed monster. You said it.
Yep. The three-headed monster the whole year. And Jeremiah Love came out last week against Ohio State, and we've seen glimpses of Jeremiah. Jeremiah Love is going to be one of our running backs that we're going to be excited about for the next 2 years because he's going to get drafted to the NFL as a junior. The kid's explosive. He's got Audric estimate power, yet he's 40 pounds less than Audric, and he's got that lightning speed. Jabron Payne has been the most improved Notre Dame player probably from last season to this season. I thought Jabron Payne was going to be a Rudy type figure in our backfield because he just was undersized and really didn't pop out at us, and was a late commit from IU, where we were like, oh, what are we going to get from this kid? Well, we're starting to see that. And then Jadarian Price was almost kind of like unknown today, which I don't know the logistics of that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening there either.
Coach D normally has a good hold on that, and when you see Audric, I don't know what Audric's problem today was, but he just looked a step slow, just like our line. Everything looked sluggish. It was just like watching paint dry, and that's very uncharacteristic.
Yeah.
So
maybe Duke just didn't cut the grass, so it was extra tall to slow us down. Who knows? Well, Jeff, I really appreciate you jumping on. Really, we wanted to give you a little more time here since you're new to the family here. Jeff at Stribiak. Jeff, looks like it would be absolutely tight on a hockey jersey, though.
100%. I appreciate you, man, and look forward to more conversations to come.
Hey, we'll be here Tuesday, and hopefully we don't go false start in the process.
Yeah, don't start too soon.
It's Stribiak Jeff on the Twitter. Thank you so much. Go Irish. All right, Lynch, Fanatics, Coach Parsegian. We're going to go to Fanatics, Parsegian, then Lynch, and then we'll see what happens after that. ND Fanatics, at Fanatics ND. I don't know if you're coming with stats or not, but you've been invited next on the Fighting Irish Faithful show. Welcome back, sir.
How's it going, everybody? I feel like we're always one step closer to a heart attack with this team, and yet again, here we are.
As if I quote Jimmy Gallagher, he said 5 years off his life. So,
right.
I was looking for Alka-Seltzer in the medicine cabinet. I did not see any.
I would say this season for me, I'm kind of apathetic's not the word. I actually care. I want to talk about the game for 3 hours after the game, so I'm not apathetic.
We are not going for 3 hours tonight.
I know. It's just, yeah.
I'm cutting this sucker off at 90 max.
I got it. But obviously, defense gets the game ball for me for 3 quarters. They hold Duke scoreless.
Yep.
And, I mean, obviously they get tired towards the end of the game for lack of offensive sustained drives, but they are getting better every week. And on a negative note, I hate to say it, this team is starting to look a lot like from the same cloth of some previous teams where the defense is very good. You have a tight end that's your primary offensive playmaker, but as a whole, you don't have enough explosiveness on offense for poor play calling that you can really compete with, let's say, the top 5 teams in the country or the top 3 teams in the country. But we'll see where that goes.
Well, and that's the thing. Like there's 2 ways I think to look at this is and you kind of laid out both. One is like we look internal at what's the team doing today, and it's like, okay, yeah, Mitchell Evans, I like him, but it's like, why is he getting targeted a lot? Or is it just the way the progressions of Hartman are working through, like, okay, option 1, option 2, oh, there's option 3, it's the tight end again. It could be something like that. It could be the fact that we're disappointed with the productivity of receivers, or we can't pick a running back, but it doesn't really matter because for some reason we still can't run sometimes, it feels. And then you hit the one that is the real concern and kind of speaks to the MO of this podcast, which is, look, you compare to other teams like Georgia and Auburn today. That was a pretty close game. Ole Miss and LSU, if no one watched that was kind of crazy. Kentucky, of all teams, beat Florida today. They put up significant points on them. So you go around. Oh, and let's not forget that I didn't watch any of the game, but the USC Colorado game, there's shit ton of points over there. The whole point that I think you're bringing up is you start looking at what Notre Dame did today versus Duke, a nerdy school such as Duke. And then it's like, well, okay, now you start looking at bowl game matchups, or you start looking at USC in a couple weeks, and or just in general, the state of our program and what we did today versus what another program did today. It kind of freaks you out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I didn't get into it during the game because I'm trying to be more focused when I'm watching a game and, not looking ahead. But some people are talking about USC today and what they did against Colorado. And, obviously they don't have a defense and we will hold them to less points.
Hopefully.
But how are we going to score enough to beat them? Because
that's the thing. Yeah.
Far more versatile. He's going to break some of those tackles that Riley didn't break today, and he's going to throw better deep balls, and they have more explosive skill position players. So I don't even know why we're having that conversation right now. And then even Clemson at home. Someone brought up a great point today. Duke beat them, but they also put up 400 yards of offense on Duke. Like, we didn't even do that today, as far as I know. Right. It's very concerning. And I just on a final note, I'll say, I hope I'm wrong on Jared Parker, but he's been an OC once prior to Notre Dame. It was the year before he moved over to Notre Dame. He was at West Virginia. And he had the 83rd ranked offense. They averaged 227 yards of passing and 130 yards rushing.
I mean, it's West Virginia. Their talent isn't the bee's knees or anything. But no, I think you're right. There's a question. I think you're just saying let's have the intellectual honesty to just ask the question about this guy, what he's producing based off of his level of experience. I think that's where you're getting at. That doesn't mean we don't like him. That doesn't mean he can't improve. I think you're taking a very realistic approach.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I think at the end of the day, Marcus Freeman is a new head coach, but his strength is defense. And Al Golden is an experienced defensive coordinator. We're seeing that as our strongest unit. But because those two guys don't have any input on offense, we're seeing an inexperienced OC, and that's feeding into lack of production on the offensive side of the ball.
Let me ask you this question. Despite the fact that he had 0 passing touchdowns today, does Notre Dame win this game without Hartman?
No, we lose that game last year, for sure.
I
doubt.
I think so, too. I think
and I would
Hartman,
just say,
we lose as well.
The announcers made a really good point. I'm sure you saw it too, and maybe you guys already talked about it earlier in the show. When Hartman started rolling out and running, Duke was worried about that. That's why they got the touchdown, because they were worried he was going to roll out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, pardon me. Got the 2-point conversion. They were worried about him rolling out. Start doing that throughout the game. Open up the rest of the offense. Like, Hartman is a mobile quarterback as much as, Ian Book was, but this guy is pass first, run second. We need to start utilizing that throughout the whole game.
I don't disagree at all. I think that there are certainly opportunities to improve. I mean, we are now halfway through the regular season. This is our 6th game now under the belt, which is kind of depressing if you really think about it. How are we halfway through the regular season? But that's where we're at. We're sitting at 5-1. So other than 6-0, there's nothing else better than this.
Yeah. As always, thanks for having me, man, and go Irish.
No worries at all. All right, Indy Fanatics, thank you so much. Coach Barsic, I see you there, but I saw Bohemian and Separatist wanting to speak. If you still want to speak, by all means, jump on. We got Lynch Mob here. Let's bring him on. At Lynch Mob ND. Brought you on. Oh, where'd you go? Oh, there you are, Lynch. You're on mute.
Hey, what's up?
Yo. This is probably one of the few shows I have not had a scotch. So that's how well I'm feeling right now. I'm just like, no.
Yeah, more antacid than scotch.
That would be nice. Yeah. I'm like, I'll just chew some Pepto-Bismol here. The little tablets, right?
Mix it up in a shot.
A shot of water, that's for sure. What's your thought of this game? Are you taking Alka-Seltzer too, or what's your story?
No, I'm not satisfied with the way we won, but we won.
We did win. We should be happy, right?
Yes, for the most part, I think so. Yeah.
Do you think it's a function of Notre Dame getting in their own way again, or as far as the struggles, or is Duke just, playing with their hair on fire? They got a good coach, and they're just feeding that energy into the vein as they kind of stymie Notre Dame's offense.
Yeah, I think they did play lights out, and that was. I've never been in that stadium, but from the way it's on TV, that was an extremely loud place to play.
Well, it's kind of interesting with it being a place like Duke. I don't really anticipate Duke being one of those places where it's like a hostile crowd. I think this is a new thing for Duke as a program, as a student body or whatever, to have this kind of visibility. I don't know what the sellout streak is over at Duke. It's probably not very high prior to this year or even before Elko, but no, I mean, and that's not to take anything away from Duke. They're doing pretty good. We'll see how they are the rest of the season. I don't know. I still go back to what we were talking about last week, where statistically Notre Dame did have better better players, better stats in the areas that really matter. And I encouraged our team to rally after a tough loss, learn how to count to 11 and things of that nature as we move forward. And that is what happened, which is good. If I guess if you want to call this rallying, but we did have to rally in the fourth quarter to come out and win this game. and the fact that it's estimated with both of our touchdowns, one at the beginning of the game, one at the end of the game. I'm not going to be too upset about that.
No.
So,
and it all, for me tonight, it goes back to last week's discussion and in the group chat discussion: tackle.
Yeah. It makes the other team's offense look better if you're missing tackles left and right here.
Yes, I counted on multiple plays, at least 3 tackles at a time missed on, and I was like, this is why we have tackling dummies. I hope at Notre Dame that maybe they'll get out of this.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you have to do? Like find someone who's being punished in one of the dorms and put some pads on that fool and just put him in the backfield and let Howard Cross, and Liafau just light him up. I don't know.
Yes.
Who knows? Well, Lynch, what else? We got a few other people want to try to get to, and then I got to get to bed here. So
I'm excited with the win, but it could have looked a little better.
I agree. It could. It's this is not a perfect cake. It's your bunt cake. You had to, some of the cake stuck to the pan, so you got to put a little more icing on it. It's a little burnt underneath, right? But and and then you put the icing on a little early, so it started to melt off. And it's kind of, so it's not bad. It's not terrible because you're still eating cake, but
right. It's instead of a shit.
Yeah, it's just, it could be better, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, appreciate it. Lynch Mob ND on Twitter. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Go Irish.
All right, go Irish. Bohemian Separatist, I see you there, man.
Hey, how's it going tonight?
Yo, welcome to the Fighting Irish Faithful Show. How you feeling this morning? Good morning. Happy Sunday.
Oh yeah, right. It has turned over to a new day, right?
It's a new day, and Notre Dame has the lead, and it's 5-1.
And I am very pleased with the fact that we have gotten past this Ohio State debacle and achieved another win. I mean,
sure.
You can't. I feel like sometimes, you want them to be big blowouts. I would love to have won this game. I think we could have been up 21 in that first half, maybe even 28. I mean, there were opportunities that were just left out there. But I think one of the things I noticed tonight was, for Hartman's, purposes, was there are some wide receivers that we were missing very badly. I mean, it was so. For the result, I guess I'm happy. We just need some wide receivers to get healthy at this point. I mean, it's going to be a hard, go over the next couple of weeks if, we don't get Jaden Thomas back and start to kind of heal, because he was limited in his options tonight of people that he could hit. But as far as the game's concerned, I mean, how many times do we watch these games implode on Notre Dame? And came out with a win, so I'm really happy about that. I mean, I feel honestly pretty good at this point, having watched this after last week.
Do you feel like the team maybe turned a corner in that last drive, in the sense that, look, like, let's put it into context. You had there's a lot of eyeballs in this team. You basically lost to yourself last week in the game at home versus Ohio State. Now you're on the road. Your offense is kind of stalling. They have the lead, but you have the ball. And so now the pressure's all on you, Notre Dame. It's an away game. And we come out and we actually score. Do you think this is a point, a true pivot point for Notre Dame? That this game has more significance going forward? Or is this one of those things where we just got lucky, or we were fortunate, or we were just a better team? Like, what's your take of this? Is it a big deal, or is it just take it and roll with it? Don't overanalyze it.
I think it is a big deal in terms of the players. have to start to believe again, right? Because, you were snake bit last week, with Ohio State. Things could have gone the right way, and that would have been a great win, but you didn't get there. And then rather than, let it blow up in your face at the end, the leaders, Hartman, Estime, they stepped up. Was it as pretty as we wanted? No, but they still made plays at the end that, probably shows some of the younger players like, hey, we can do this. We can rise to the occasion, and we can do it when we're a little handicapped, when we don't have all of our pieces there. But I do think that, Hartman has to be there hoping to see a couple receivers come off the injured list and start to be at practice next week. Because, I wasn't necessarily concerned about this game after the Ohio State loss, but when the reports started to come out towards, Tuesday and Wednesday of who was not at practice, that started to make me worried. And honestly, it was very evident on the field tonight that there was a lack of receiving options, and there were guys that just weren't making the plays. And again, they're young receivers, but I mean, as much recruiting talent has come in the receiving department, it's still really young, and it's not as deep as we would like it to be.
Oh, I agree with that. I think it's one of those situations where, when you see a couple of the key guys like Greathouse and Thomas or whoever, they get sidelines to an injury or they're banged up or whatever the case is, or even if the defense is even keying in and eliminating them as a threat, right? Who was it? We saw Merriweather. He got a ball bounce off his shoulder, but he committed offensive pass interference. And it's like one of those things where it's like, yeah, it looks like it's the right call. Like there's a way to create separation without blatantly extending your arms out, right? If it's one arm and your eyes are up at the ball and you're just kind of creating some space, but you don't like lunge and push, you can get away with that kind of stuff. But some of these other things, like, so back to the receiving piece, it's one of those things where it's like you want it back because we have a quarterback that should be able to give the ball out, and when the good receivers are not there due to speed or talent or whatever, it puts a little more pressure on the other guys. But let's face it, the receivers were not the heroes tonight. It was running, even though it looked pretty shitty at some times tonight.
Yeah. Well, some of the running plays were driving me up the wall. We weren't very creative. It's kind of like one of those things where, I mean, I hate to say it, but like Tommy Reese had some really creative running plays. And I mean, did we even see a jet sweep tonight? Did we see anything where we were trying just something creative to bounce it outside? I mean, it felt like we kept wanting to go inside, and they were going to take that away from us no matter what. It felt like that all night long. And yeah, Estime finally overcame, but it was one of those things we just kept running it up the middle, and it's like you can't be just that one-dimensional,
Right.
And I mean,
well, and maybe it's a reason why they didn't go to the outside is because they didn't have that depth at receiver that requires key blocks on the outside or to seal someone on the inside of the outside, or you can't really do crack blocks like you could back in the day with linebackers, with a a receiver coming in, right, and kind of blindside blocking. So that they've kind of cut down on that. So I'm not saying you're wrong, that like creativity in the run game, running to the outside. I just don't know what there's a lot of pieces that have to go to effectively run to the outside. And, unless it's a toss, unless you can get a seal or some sort of hook block kind of situation, it becomes very problematic to run to the outside, unless you just know flat out that you're giving it to a fast guy.
Yep.
That can just Reggie Bush people and just get away from them all.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I mean, and another issue, and again, like Notre Dame is not playing very disciplined football right now. But
yeah,
I mean, if you're telling me that Notre Dame's getting 10 penalties called on them, and disciplined football team on the face of this planet, and they're only getting one. I mean, the ACC refs are killing me at this point. I mean, it feels like every week, it's like, hey, we're playing like, that 12th man, and, that's what it is. You can't change that aspect of it, but it is absolutely killing me that, we get these. It's just like, we talked about that pass interference or offensive pass interference earlier, right? There was hand fighting going on both ways. And I know that, like, yeah, he pushed off in a sense, but it's not like the defensive player didn't have his hands on our wide receiver at that point.
I think it's a function of how that play works out. And like when I saw it and I saw the replay, I'm like, yeah, I could see why they called offensive pass interference. Do I want it to happen? Of course not, but I can see why the ref threw the flag.
And maybe, right? But like at the same time, you get this like targeting call on Othello, right? Like, and it's like, I mean, are you looking for something? I mean, how is that getting whistled down? I mean, this was not an obvious shot or anything like that,
Well,
and
if I look at the bright side with the Othello thing, it's like, well, at least he'll be fresh for the second half against Louisville.
Absolutely, and he's going to want to make up for it too, right? He's going to come out there and he's going to want to fix it. And I mean, for what it's worth, we can't change that aspect of of what's going on, but it just feels like as the season's gone on, having watched all these games, and some of them a couple times, it just feels like the ACC refs absolutely hate Notre Dame. But again, we can't change that. I mean, it's just Notre Dame has a great streak going, and it doesn't feel like it's called both ways all the time, And again, I did, though, I will say this, watching a lot of the plays tonight, I've got to give it to Duke. I didn't see a lot of the tackling of our offensive linemen or even our defensive linemen. I mean, I felt like Duke did look like the more disciplined team, and maybe that goes back to Coach Elko, because I mean, I remember watching that man leave, years ago, and feeling very sad when he did.
Oh, sure.
I mean, what Duke has going on right now, I mean, that's a drastically different team than they had 2 years ago, and it's impressive. So
it really is. I think the eyes will continue to stay on Duke for a little while, because I think people are curious about this, and if you're another like serious program that may be needing a coach in the next couple of years, not Notre Dame, like I'm talking about Michigan State or whatever, Mike Elko, doing good things, if he's successful at Duke, you can go up to, move up to the bigger table. So, well, at Bohemian Separa one.
Separatist, yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to read your handle here, but thank you for joining us tonight on the show. We've got a few other people we're going to try to get to.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Go Irish. And it's officially Louisville week, I guess. The the penalties are really something that irritated me tonight, and it's just like time and time again. Yeah, anything from the first series to all the way up, in the fourth quarter, we're still doing dumb, stupid penalties. We're starting back and inside our own 5, and we're pushed back even farther, and we have to pass. So, these are situations that no one likes to see. So, all right, we're just going to get a few other people here. I really appreciate everybody jumping on. Everyone try to give everyone like 5 minutes here. Coach Barsegian, I see you're there. You've been very patiently waiting. Coach, if you want to join, by all means, jump on, Coach Barsegian. If not, Coach.
What's up?
Well, we're it's pretty late here.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. After 6 straight games of some of the worst officiating that I've ever seen in all my years as a Notre Dame fan. Notre Dame against the world. To heck with Ohio State.
Ohio State's no one cares about them. Like, yeah.
But dear Lord, that is so god awful. Tell me, what play was it? Because I probably wasn't paying attention or watching. Was it that they were reviewing that is by rule not reviewable? Was it where the punt went out of bounds over the?
That's a good question. I don't know the ins and outs of what is and is not reviewable.
Well, from what I've read here and there, it's not reviewable. I just didn't know which play it was.
I know I was catching it earlier in the day. I was watching a little bit. I was flipping between the Auburn game and the Boise State game. And I know like Auburn's quarterback crossed the line of scrimmage, then stepped back behind the line of scrimmage, and then shucked it forward. And I'm like, as soon as he did that, I'm like, you can't do that. That's an illegal pass. And the SEC refs did not call it. So I was like, that's not right. Now, Georgia still wins, but whatever. But the game was pretty close, and it was close for a good
That was a very entertaining football game.
Yeah.
It was the punt that you're thinking of.
The punt that went over the pylon?
From the pylon
it should not have been reviewed.
Fine.
Yeah, the pylon cam made it kind of look like it went like to the right. They had that other view in the back corner, kind of made it look like it went over the pylon. When I first saw it, I'll be very honest with you. Like, granted, I'm watching on TV. I'm not on the sideline like the ref is. I thought it was a touchback when I first saw it. I'll be very honest with you. And maybe that's just my pessimism. I don't know. But that's honestly what I thought. I saw touchback. Now, and then they were like, oh, no, it's at the 1. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll take that too. So we'll see.
I loved the fake punt, by the way.
Yes.
Because it reminded me shades of Charlie Weiss's good offense when his offense was functional.
Yes.
But it's just, I hadn't seen it so long. It'd been so long since I've seen Notre Dame try to do something like that. And it's just like, yes, that's something Brian Kelly would hardly ever do. And when he would try to do it, it would never work. So
I like the fact that it was a direct snap to someone with some speed.
Yes. It wasn't like here we go. Oh, wait a minute. No, I'm going to throw it. No,
let's pass it back to the punter and then watch him do whatever he's doing. Yeah, no, it wasn't that at all.
It wasn't some kind of Tommy Reese special flea flicker or something like that. It was just a simple, direct snap. Here we go around the edge, which I don't think Notre Dame did enough of, not only during this game, but a week ago, trying to go around to the outside. They kept running right into the heart of the defense, and it's just they're not getting anywhere.
I'm with you there. Coach, anything we need to take away from this game?
I said this earlier, and I still stand by it. Maybe now part of it is the offensive line, but maybe Hartman's not what we thought he was. Just maybe. I don't know. Now we don't win the game without him.
I agree.
He's better. He is better than Notre Dame quarterbacks we've had in the past under Kelly.
Yeah, I'd say best quarterback. At this point, statistically on paper, Grant, everyone knows the talent is inferior, and I kind of mentioned this earlier in the show tonight that we've been rocked into some sort of, I don't want to say false security because we are still 5-1, but we've been rocked into believing that we're at this high level of excellence under Hartman, and maybe it's a function of padding stats against lesser opponents. I don't know.
Probably.
But I think that's part of it right now. When you look at the last 2 games, look dramatically different from the previous 4. And NC State lost, again to Louisville. So it's like, okay. So
well,
go ahead, Coach.
I was just going to say, maybe we need to quit playing so many night games.
Oh, you're not wrong there. I'm kind of annoyed. Like 4 in a row. I'm like, Jesus, it's late for me. Like, I was not anticipating this. You know, I got to read at church
Well, if this
tomorrow.
defense shows up against USC, we're screwed. I mean, it will be.
The defense is not what's bothering me. It's the offense. If the defense is coming up like this and again holding a team under 20 points, I'm not going to be too upset about that. Now the level of talent and the offensive firepower they're going to face with SC in two weeks, you know, that's something
what I'm saying.
To like make you look for holy water. But
this is not to bash Duke's offense in any way, but it's Duke. They have nobody compared to Notre Dame's recruits.
I'm with you there.
Notre Dame is in shambles depth-wise from what Brian Kelly did to it. But if the way Duke ran all over Notre Dame in that second half, if that same defense shows up against USC, we're toast.
Yeah, I mean, Duke's at 56th ranked talent right now. NC State was 46th ranked over 4 years. Notre Dame's sitting at 11. So I haven't gotten to SC yet, but I'm sure they're not going to be top 10, just because they have all the transfers and whatnot, and the COVID year kind of screwed them up. But it's kind of their own fault.
I just know we cannot let USC get up by 2 scores.
I agree.
Because, I mean, had Colorado actually showed up in the first half the way they did the second, completely different ball game. But they got too far behind too early and couldn't climb out of that.
Sure.
We cannot let that happen.
Tough place to be in. Tough place to be. Well, Coach, I think we give a couple other people a few seconds here, and then I think we'll call it a night. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, go Irish. At Coach Barsegian on the Twitter. Great, loyal listener. Let's see. I got Owen here, Patty Mac. Who else? Warrior 40. You wanted to speak for a while. We'll just bring everybody on. Whatever. Clicking. Everyone's invited to speak. And if anyone just wants to listen, or people have fallen asleep, that's fine too. We'll shut her down for the night. I mean, this is literally the worst I have felt after a loss in a long time, and probably the worst I've felt after a loss ever doing this show. And maybe that's a function of what I had for dinner. Probably not, but it's one of those things where all too often we've played a big game, and then it doesn't go our way, and then we're kind of in a dogfight against a team that we should be superior, and it doesn't quite happen. So that old feeling is a little familiar. Now, maybe that's a Notre Dame thing. Maybe that's, we had some banged up receivers thing. Maybe it's Marcus Freeman as a new coach thing. Who knows, right? We don't have to get all macro right now. We should be happy. We got the win. Enjoy it, although for some reason it doesn't feel as enjoyable as winning by 20 plus points. But either way, here's where we are. Well, if no one else, I've said a few things out there. If no one else wants to jump on, that's totally fine. I think we're gonna call it a night, because I got to read at 8 a.m. mass tomorrow. So these damn night games. This game was not supposed to be a night game, and then we got another night game next week, and then another one after that. So it's just nuts. So, I mean, it's fun, good exposure for the program, but it's, we're just kind of dealing with this all day long, and hey, TV stations run the world. Nobody cares. And Notre Dame's just getting some more money in the pocketbook, I guess. I don't know. All right. Well, I think we're gonna call it a night, men. That is where we're at. This is the Fighting Irish Faithful Show. Be happy. Look, we got the win. Things are good. I know it sounds like we're a little down or whatever, but look, people were getting heart attacks, and I was sick to my stomach, literally. So we're feeling a little better now. But now I just need to sleep it off and be done with it. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight, the Fighting Irish Faithful Show, and we'll see you on Tuesday. Take care and good night. Irish are victorious, winning by 7 on the road. Thank you.
Reggie Brooks got it for a two-pointer, and Notre Dame is out in front, 17-16. Lost the ball. The pass is batted down. It's batted down by Carroll.
It's caught by Samaza. Inside the 20, inside the 10. He's going in. Notre Dame has scored. Dawson throws, open receiver in the end zone. Touchdown, Notre Dame. Somehow, the Irish did it.
Out of the pack, 30, 35. Goodbye, baby. At the 50, the 40, the 30, the 20, the 10. Bye-bye, rocket touchdown, Irish.
Tyree! Whoa! Can he get there? Tyree at the 30, 20, 10. Touchdown, Notre Dame! Woo! 98 big ones. Zibikowski looking for a block. Cuts to the right to the 40. Gets a block. Gets to the 45, 50. Up to the 45, 40, 30. One man to beat. 20.